Queer joy to me is the small moments. It's like the really intimate one-on-one moments a lot of the time in my life. It's nonverbal usually. It's just like a feeling between me and someone else, a friend, a partner. It's that click of closeness. And if it sustains, great, but maybe it's fleeting. Yeah. My name is Vanilla Honey, go by Honey. I'm 28, and I grew up on Long Island, New York. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm an architect, community organizer, friend. Being biracial, being mixed already created a template for me of not belonging, essentially not feeling like I was belonging in so many spaces and within myself too. So when I realized I'm queer, it felt like the same feeling. So it was familiar, and that's sad, but it was familiar. It didn't feel sad. Conceptually, it's sad, right? Not feeling like I belong, but that fluidity that's already built in racially, and how, within my queerness, so many things just feel very, very fluid. It was the same familiar feeling. My mom didn't teach me Korean growing up. Actually, that's not exactly true. She did speak to me when I was a really little kid, still just like a baby, basically, and then so I think I knew words, phrases. I still know just words and phrases, basically. I didn't go to Korean school. I didn't grow up with any religion or a strong sense of spirituality. So I didn't have places like that to practice also. It was just my mom, basically, and her sisters and family who were in New York also. So it's something I wish that I had. It's something I wish that we could connect over. And I have a dream of one day being quite fluent and maybe even living in Korea for a little bit. But that dream has changed a lot because I've become more of myself, and I don't know where I would fit in that world. And speaking to a lot more friends in my life now and thinking about language justice and inclusivity in that way, I think for a lot of Korean Americans who aren't fluent in Korean, there's this idea that if you spoke the language, that would bring you closer to your culture or your community more so than you are. But I don't think that's necessarily true. And so I've released a lot of that and just decided, like, if that's something I want to do one day, it'll happen, and I'll put my mind to it. But I'm happy to know words and phrases, and as much as I do know. I don't think I need to speak Korean to connect with Korean people. And even elders, even my family members who don't speak a lot of English, it's never been an issue. There's still like so much in humor. Humor is a huge part of how I think I connect. And to go back to, being mixed too, there's this purity complex, that is already gone being mixed. So that has to kind of be released. And then using humor has been such a vehicle, I think. Like ultimately it would be considered like disrespectful a lot of the time, like talking back or being playful in a certain way when you should be disciplined and listen and just take orders. But, for example, I work up in Greenpoint, and there's a shoe repair spot, Kim's Shoe Repair, on Meserole Ave. And that was right next to my old office. And I still go in there and visit them, and they're like family. And it's a lot of teasing and business too, right? Like bringing business to them and visiting them. And she would come over to the office and bring me duck, and I would come and bring pears, and it's this exchange of care. I think that organizing and stepping up to lead comes pretty naturally, and I think that that's just a lot of having to learn to advocate for myself first and then wanting to bring other people together. So fast forwarding to in recent years and finding queer Korean community in particular and trans Korean community, I really think that queerness was the bridge to finally feeling a sense of belonging that I hadn't felt in so long. There have been Korean people in my life throughout my whole life, and mixed people too. My parents found a lot of other mixed families and their kids, and I could relate to them in a lot of ways, but I didn't have that language when I was younger, and I think that there was always still the sense of feeling like I belong took just until recent years, really. So again, I think queerness was this bridge that allowed me to feel that, and to feel a sense of connection. I was invited to a potluck with a bunch of queer Koreans at someone's home, Sandy, their name is, and we bumped into each other a few times, and then they invited me to their home for a potluck. It wasn't an organizing space. And from there said that they wanted to create a queer trans Korean network, and that KQT had been this title X and then the city, so KQTx NYC was being used in different pockets in the US, and New York didn't really have that title yet, didn't have that official group. So we had one meeting before the pandemic in person, a formal one to organize and say, like, what kind of organization do we want to be? And when the pandemic hit, there were a few people who just stepped forward to start organizing virtually, and we had fervor and energy to do so. So I fell into one of those positions, which was essentially a group chat. It was a group chat of a few of us, and we started creating these virtual spaces, these dream spaces, as we called them in the beginning. And it just felt like home. It just felt very natural. It just felt like, this is what I want to do. I want to create these spaces for my people. So showing up is really important too, to create those spaces. That is a part of creating those spaces. It's not just one person or a few people up at the top and gathering people. Showing up is so much of it, and we need you there. And I think that with the picnics that I organize, that formatting allows for that in a more fluid way. There's a time window, and there's food, and it's light, and it's outside, and people can show up when they want to, and they can leave when they want to. So I guess I'm just thinking about telling people, like, show up in the ways that you can. We want you there. And also, like, create spaces that you want to see. When I think of queer joy, I go a bit nonverbal, because I just want to sit and kind of flip through a lot of moments in my head. It feels abstract. It feels like a collection of different kinds of joys. It feels like in my body, a warmth in my chest, and my shoulders relax, and there's a grin on my face, and maybe a little goosebumps. It's belonging. It's that kind of warmth. My brain slows down too, like the memories that I have. It's almost like a slow motion video of just bits and close-ups and pieces of these moments, other smiles and hearing laughs, and that feeling when you're at a little house party or something and all those people that you love are around you and they love you and you just feel safe. That's queer joy. Little honey, what would I tell them? The words "you're still here" have come up a lot. They roll through my brain a lot. It's a reminder to stay present and to keep going. And I would say that you do belong. You're gonna meet more people who look like you, who have the interests that you do. That feeling of belonging will come up in many different places in your life. I felt a lot of loneliness growing up, even having my closest friends, because I always felt loved by my parents, I always felt supported, which I'm very fortunate for. When it came to emotional support and my feelings, that department, my parents weren't so strong in. And then being an only child, I talk to myself all the time still. And I have to remind myself all the time like that I am here for myself. That loneliness, it's a natural feeling. It's gonna come up later too, but you're not alone. And you're going to find support. You don't have to always just rely on yourself or depend on yourself too. You can ask for help.